We'll wait for 5 more minutes. Hmm. Then we'll start the session. In the meantime, if any of you have any doubts regarding the previous sessions, the previous assignments, then we can discuss it now. So it seems like nobody else is joining. Does any of you have any doubts regarding the previous week assignments or the content? Am I audible? Am I audible to anyone? Can somebody respond? Okay, so we'll start the session. So in the previous week, we talked about different frameworks like SQL and MongoDB and PHP and what else? Different APIs. APIs, MySQL. So one of the APIs that we discussed last time was TweetCred and how it has ranking and it involves humans as well. And we described how the model is trained, how it classifies the um, posts, what was the loss function, what was Cronbach alpha, and we discussed those things last time. Then Web of Trust scores was a similar way of how TweetCred was ranking tweets. Web of Trust scores was basically a method or a platform which ranked the websites. And Weston's three categories. Does anybody remember the three categories? You can type in the chat if you want. I think we had a very long discussion on the three categories. We discussed how the surveys, Western surveys, most of them concluded how the percentage of these three categories in most of the surveys. Does anybody remember these categories? Fundamentalist, pragmatist, and what else is there? Does anybody remember the third category? Yes, that's correct. What were the other two? Yeah. Then we talked about how these surveys that were discussed in the last lecture were mostly done in either European states or US, and there has been very less research in this area in India. And one of the research groups working towards this is Professor Kumaraguru's research team. And you can find more papers and their surveys, their research work on the site that was shared with you in the previous sessions. Okay. Now, so how did you guys like the previous assignments? Was it easy? Do you need harder questions? Do you have any doubts in that? Okay, I guess we have a intelligent audience. Okay, so let's come to this week's content. I'll just briefly go through what was discussed in these lectures, and then if you have any doubts, we can go through them. We can discuss them. So yeah, privacy. In general, privacy is a relaxed version of security where you disclose information, but at the same time you have some rules for it. So say you want to disclose some information about you, like you're fine with your name being disclosed, but not your location or not your age, something sensitive. So there are a lot of rules applied to that privacy. So a very common example would be the cookie policies that you see. It is for the privacy of the user because the browser stores a lot of information about you, and in general, the disclosure of this information is possible, but we have some rules so that the user's privacy is maintained. These rules might be to not disclose your microphone data or your location or your browser information. So that's what privacy concerns about. Privacy can be of different forms. It can be information, your sensitive information like your Aadhaar card number, your PAN card number, your school, your institute's name, your grades or whatever. Or it could be the communication that you're having with somebody and you do not want either your texts or your voice calls or your video calls to be available to anybody. That is one kind of privacy. And yeah, and territorial privacy is again, you do not want anybody to just enter your office or your building or your house. So that is more concerned with the location. And then comes the bodily privacy, that you do not want maybe your pictures to be out there, you do not want your videos or pictures to be out there. That's on you, whatever you want to do, and that is the bodily privacy. Then now that social media is so prevalent, we see that there is a lot of increase in the number of photos online. There was a whole slide in the lecture PDF that was shared with you, which indicated that since social media has been booming, every year there has been exponential increase in the number of photos that are already present online. At the same time, the face recognition community, the researchers in this area have developed very accurate face recognition technologies. Then, and also the computing power of the devices has increased a lot. Like we have very fast processors, we have multiple cores and whatnot, and it is available to everyone these days. So it's not like only a few people have the computing power to do something malicious or do uh, some data analysis. So everybody can do it. So the computing power has increased. The face recognition has become more accurate, and the face recognition obviously uses ML, and the data that this face recognition model would require is the photos that are online. And we started with this fact that online the number of photos online has increased exponentially and is increasing exponentially. So all these three combined is um, what we observe is helping in re-identification of people online, and uh, also is helping in revealing sensitive information about people. Now, because we have a lot of data in different sectors, if we combine any of these sectors, we kind of get an intersection of this, and this has helped not only for re-identification, where some sector did not might not have would have been anonymous, would the user would want to be anonymous, but because some data was matched, the anonymity was no longer there. We'll see some examples now. And apart from that, in general, sensitive information. So sensitive information is also being leaked. So this is just one link that I found, which is an open source face recognition software. I have not used it, but you guys can try. I just included that in case you wanted to try some experiments on your own. And so I think everybody is aware of this privacy policy change by WhatsApp, which happened during COVID. And this is not a very recent one, but yeah, during COVID, there was a privacy policy change, and people started moving towards Signal and Telegram kind of applications. So I would like you guys to answer this question now. I think everybody went through this, and everybody should know what happened and what was the scenario. So it is 3:18 now, and I'll wait till 3:20 for you guys to think and answer in the chat. Twitter API is now paid. How we do it? The Twitter Creed, I think, is not working only anymore. Sorry, Nivesh, which API did you try? I think this time the tutorial has had Reddit API, and that was free, I think. Maybe you can just try the Reddit API for now, and in general, I'll try to find which other APIs are free and you could use them. I'm not very sure which other APIs are available for you to play around with. I'll maybe put it in the discussion forums. Is that fine? Nivesh, is that fine? I'll take that as a yes. And does anybody want to answer this question? It's a very easy one. Everybody, like, do you remember during COVID, everybody was switching towards Signal and Telegram groups, Signal groups, family groups were being created. Everybody was very concerned about privacy and all of that. So, what was the scenario? You can just write A, B, C, D, whatever option that you think is correct. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. I think nobody uses WhatsApp here. So the answer is A. And Deepika, you were very near because WhatsApp had given a timeline and gave a revised policy. Um, and the timeline was basically by enforcing people to update their WhatsApp, and we could either accept or reject. But we could not continue with that version of WhatsApp. So we had to agree with their privacy policy, and hence the first option is correct. Okay. Okay. So does anybody know about K anonymity? Did anybody go through the lectures? Okay. Does anybody want to try answering this question? I'll maybe wait till 3:25. K-anonymity is basically a method to provide privacy. I think by looking at the options, you get a very good idea of what it could be. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Does anybody else want to try? Okay. Does anybody want to explain their option? Why C is correct or why A is correct? Could you type in the same? You could unmute yourself as well. Whatever works for you. Okay, maybe I'll discuss the answer. So the first two options are correct because, so I'll just go through what k-anonymity is. Um, Say you have these many data points, and say the average was, everybody had 5, 5, 5. So 5 into 10 divided by 10. So say we had 10 data points and all the values were 5, and the average, so basically the average of this group would be 5. Now if I remove one of this person and again take a average of this group, I again get a 5. So by these values, I know that this value could only have been 5. The value that I removed was 5. So this is hindering with the anonymity of this data point. We only wanted to reveal the average for, so this is public information equals to the average of the data points. And again, this was again public data, public information 2, public information 1. Okay, and then we remove this, we got the same average. So we know, so we can deduce from this that once the number of data points, this is also public information. When we removed one data point, the average was same. So we know that the value that was removed was again a 5. So I'm not saying that 5 needs to be the information for every point. I'm just saying once some information is removed from the data set, we should not get any hint about what could that value have been, because we just want to release an average or the sum of some data. We do not want to we do not want to release individual information. Hence the definition that is that the information for each individual in the released anonymized data set cannot be distinguished from at least k-1 individuals whose information also appears in the anonymized data set. So when I remove this, there is at least k more data points which could have the same value, and hence we cannot just pinpoint to one particular data. And hence the definition also talking in the probability sense, any record in the k anonymized data set has the maximum probability of k by 1 of being re-identified. Basically because we are saying that k values have the same, k data points have the same value, hence we are just taking one out of it. There are k other possibilities who must be having the same value, hence we cannot remove that. Hence we cannot individually identify that okay, this is data point A, data point B, so the data point that was removed was B. So these are basically some techniques which are not required at this point, but I think this was just discussed to tell you the different methods that are out there to provide privacy. This is one method. The other one is differential privacy, and it has a similar idea of privacy, but it's just that it doesn't like restrict itself for just k set of elements, but it is for every element, and basically the k is 1 and no individual data point can be distinguished from the other. So three experiments were discussed in these lectures in the lectures for this week, and this was basically to show that the information that is present online can be used to reveal more information that you thought was anonymous to you, which made you anonymous online, or your sensitive information. It can be used to leak both of these. I think this study was done in 2008 or 9 or 10, in that time period. But yeah, this is a very old study. But if you can do this at that time, then the data online was very less. Then just imagine how much is actually being done at this time, at this I don't want to say era, but yeah, era. And I mean the amount of information that is out there, and the amount of information being shared about you between companies, ad agencies, and whatnot, marketing analysis, and so your information is not safe anymore. And we want to go towards a more hence we want to go towards more privacy oriented and security oriented browsing in general. So we'll talk about the first experiment. So before that, so as I was saying that the first step would be, so yeah, there are two databases here. The first one is the unidentified database. Yeah, that is basically the data that belongs to one particular application or something, application or one organization. So say that you had a profile on some dating app, and and you wanted to be anonymous on that. So you just had your photo on that application, and you just used your nickname or something. You did not have all your personal information on that application. Now the identified database is Facebook. It is public to everybody. It's a publicly available database. You have a profile on Facebook. Your friends know it. Other people know it. You have your similarly on LinkedIn. Like people can see your profile, and though the messaging again can happen only when you allow or connect to somebody. In general, your information is publicly available on sites like Facebook and LinkedIn. Otherwise, if you have other profiles like Match.com or I don't know, some dating website or food application, and that's a private application that you're using and does not have your personal information, you can kind of get an intersection of this, and some information is being leaked to the third party, because some information is common between them and you can be identified from that. So as it says, a face recognition allows to match a subject in an unidentified DB from data in an identified DB. And once this is done, sensitive data input from unidentified DB can be linked to the identify a subject in the identified DB. So what the first experiment did is they So what the first experiment did is they had called a few subjects and they used a face recognition app. They recognized, so the application recognized some face, some identity and found the same in the Facebook network. So it tried to map it to some public profile. So this is online to online because these are publicly available data set. So the Facebook profiles are public, that is online. And then using this online information, we mapped it to say the dating profile application. So the dating apps also had your photos, but this was unidentified. Because maybe anonymous name. You maybe had some pet name, your your coding profile name or your band name, anything that you do not want. So you basically did not want to reveal your real name, and here you had everything real because this was an identified platform, and you wanted people to know about you. You wanted everything out there. So when this photo here and this photo here was matched, this anonymous name was revealed, and we could kind of know that okay, these people who walked in, these subjects who walked in for the interview had a profile on this dating website, and there was some % of accuracy for the same. Yeah, I think 50% of them were recognized in this application. No, okay, it was not 50%, it was 10%. So out of every 10 people, at least one of them was identified correctly in the dating site. So this was the result for the first experiment. In the second experiment, we went offline to online. So the offline mode was using CCTV information, and the online was again the dating site or Facebook. So rather than the CCTV, so just for the experiment, they like took pictures of the people who went in for the experiment. Like you can see in this flowchart that the computer uploaded 3 pictures of the subject, and then that 1 second. Yeah. So first the CCTV information, basically your photo was uploaded, and the same thing was repeated that was done in the first experiment. wherein your face was recognized by the face recognition application, and your information was sent again to the subject to verify if it had correctly recognized the information and if that was your profile. So that was the difference between the first step and the second step is that rather than going to the Facebook profile and then matching it in the dating site, the point was to say that in general, wherever your photos are being taken, say the CCTV has your video and photos and all of that, and even that information can be used to find you online, not just online information. Say if I tell you my Facebook profile, you should not be able to find me on some other application. That was pointed out in the first experiment. In the second experiment, you could say that there are a lot of sources where your pictures are being taken, and they can be offline sources as well, as you see in the second experiment, like a CCTV camera or a webcam can take your pictures, send it to some find you online, and then that information kind of gets more sensitive information about you, like we saw in the first experiment. The same way, if we want to extend the process, not just getting your Facebook profile, you can get sensitive information about you by intersecting the same way with a government website, say, and your name can be matched, or just your photos can be matched, and more personal information about you can be revealed, like your Aadhaar card or PAN card information, or maybe your medical information can be revealed, which we do not want. So the difference between these is just that you're matching your information that you have revealed till now in 1 and 2 to further to further find intersections with data sets having sensitive information. Of course, at that time, this experiment had limitations that the face recognition was not that good, and the availability of facial images in general was less, and finding cooperative subjects is very difficult, and the geographical restrictions were there. So these were the limitations at that point. Other than that, yes, so this was what was covered in the lecture. I think there was just one lecture and the others were tutorials. So do you have any doubts till this point? Did you guys at least understand what I was trying to say? Do you have any doubts? हाँ ना तो बोलो. Do we move forward, or do you want me to explain some concept again? No doubts? Okay, so how many of you have gone through the tutorials or the videos for this week? Can you just type yes in the chat or maybe raise your hands? Not completed, okay. Maybe we'll solve some questions together, and I think some concepts will be clear by then. or do you want me to go to the tutorial? I'll just quickly go through what was discussed in the 3 tutorials. Okay. So there were 3 things that were discussed this time. One was NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. NumPy is to manage arrays and lists in a more efficient way than normal lists. So you have to write functions to play around with arrays, and NumPy already has a lot of functions. It makes it easier. In general, it is more optimized. The storage of these lists is more efficient in NumPy. Hence, it is very commonly used in data science and machine learning in general. And Pandas is a library of Python which is used to represent tables actually and collections basically. They are called data frames, and you have rows and columns. And here you had arrays where it was one dimensional. Here we have two-dimensional table kind of things, and we have column names. We can have column names here. We can have features. Hence, it is a very useful thing. People use it for again use it for data science and ML. Matplotlib is used for plotting the analysis that you've done. You can have bar graphs, you can have histograms, you can have line graphs, and everything actually. Matplotlib is a very essential skill these days, and having it on tips is could be very useful for your assignments and everything. So yeah, all 3 of them are very useful in general for your BTech. I think most of you are doing your BTech, but otherwise, in general, it's a very good skill. All 3 are essential, and most of the jobs these days, jobs these days are for data analytics, and this is the basic skill to have. Hmm. Yeah, I think this does not have any library, so you can answer this question. It is 350, and I'll wait till say 352. This is a normal Python code, so I think you guys must be able to answer it. If not, we'll discuss it, but I'd hope for you guys to reply. You can write your answers in the chat. Does anybody want to know what lambda is or don't know what lambda is? And maybe I could tell you what lambda is first, and then you can try to answer the question. But I would want you to tell me that you want to know what lambda. Otherwise, I'll assume that you know lambda and you can answer this question. Is anybody trying? Okay, maybe just okay, nice. Nivesh, would you I like to try again for the first option? So this is 10, not 1. I mean, it's not 0, it's 10. Your second answer is correct. Yeah. So lambda is basically an inline function. Um, so the word online is now a function name, and it has one parameter a, and a is the definition of this function is this part. So this line is basically calling the function online with the value of a being 10. Hence, the return, this is what is returned, 2 into a. Sorry. So this is what is returned by this function, and the value of this would be 25. Same with the function social media, and the output for this would be 12 into 4, that is 48. So yeah, good job, Nivesh and Deepija. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but yeah, good job both of you. So this was basic Python. Then comes NumPy. As I said, it is an efficient way to use arrays and lists. So I'll just maybe browse through. Okay, I have to share my screen. Okay, so is my laptop screen visible? Okay. Yeah, so you can use Jupyter Notebooks offline also, and I generally use Colab, Google Colab, which is online, and so the notebooks that are provided to you can be used in Jupyter as well as Google Colab, whatever is more convenient for you. Even Jupyter has an online version, you can use that. I'll just go forward with Google Colab. So we import NumPy as NP so that we don't have to write NumPy dot the function name every time. So you see that the data type of this array, every element of this is an integer. You see that it is stored in A. Type of every element is can be checked using the function type. I am hoping that everybody knows how indexing works, and if not, you can always like write your doubts in the chat. If I do not see the chat, maybe some of you, someone can just unmute themselves and let me know. Yeah. So the type of each element can be checked in this way. If one of the elements is a floating element, then every element in that array is converted into float. In general, you can define the type of every element by using the attribute dtype. Here, we are mentioning that the type of these elements, the array elements, should be float 32, and hence when you print that array, you see that the elements which were initially integers have been converted to float 32. Then you can specify the same, that okay, initially you had a float in the array, now I'm saying that no, I want only integers in my array. I can specify that using the attribute D type again. So you can use for loops inside the you can use for loops to form a 2D array where this is one row, this is one row, this is one row. Basically, these are like lists and inside a list, and which kind of forms a matrix. If you want to see it that way. So the value of I first will be 2. In the first iteration, it will be 2. It will go to 3 and 4. 2, 3, and 4. So I plus 3 is basically the limit. It goes from I to I plus 3. Sorry, it goes from I to I plus 2 because I plus 3 is the limit, higher limit. So it is basically less than, not less than, equal to. So it will go for I plus 1 and I plus 2. So the first value for I is 2. It will go till 3 and 4. In the next iteration, the value of I would be 4, and it will go to 5 and 6. In the third iteration, the last iteration, will go to the I's value. I's value would be 6, and it will print till 6, 7, and 8, and not 9 because I plus 3 is not inclusive. Any doubt till here? Okay, I am taking it as a no. And if you want to know the shape of the array that you have created, you can always use this a dot shape. A is printing the array, then a dot shape. A dot shape is printing the shape of the array, the dimensions of the array. Okay. Now, if you want to create an array from scratch, like you do not want to put in the values, you can just start with zeros. This function will create a 1D array with 10 elements, and all the elements will be initialized to 0. You can mention the type here. You can mention float or int or whatever. Float 32, float 64, int 64, whatever. You have the option to have a 2D array. You can set the dimensions in this way, and default the data type would be float. You can set it to int like we discussed. Similarly, if you want to initialize the array or the matrix with ones, you have the function ones. And if you want one specific value in that matrix, you can use the function full, and 101 can be used. Whatever number you want to mention can be mentioned in this function as the second attribute. The first would be the dimension of the matrix. Yeah, there are a lot of functions you can use. I think it is explained well enough in the tutorials. Again, there are different attributes. There is random values can be used in your arrays. And you can use shape, dimension, size, D type. Indexing can be done. Indexing, and then you can slice your array. The indexing can be 1-dimensional, 2-dimensional. This is range of indices. Then again, array slicing, where you want one particular part of your array. There are different notations for the same. As explained in the tutorials, you can always discuss if you have any doubts in any of this. So there are concatenation functions as well. You can stack vertically or horizontally. So one is to concatenate the arrays in a vertical format, one is to concatenate in a horizontal format. You can split. Then the tutorial also covers writing your own functions and using them, and how to perform arithmetic operations on the arrays and matrices that you have created. Once you create X and Y, you can perform addition where every element will be added of the two arrays. You can perform the subtraction, multiplication, exponential also. There are other mathematical operations as well in the NumPy library itself. Statistical operations like sum, mean, max, average, standard deviation, argmax. Argmax basically returns the index of the maximum element. Argmin returns the index of the most minimal element. That was NumPy. Any doubts in this? Anything that you didn't understand during the tutorial and would like to discuss it? Maybe we could discuss some examples. If you have no doubts, then we can discuss maybe a few questions, one or two questions. Okay, so it is 4-4. I will wait till 4-6 for you guys to answer this question. You can put your answer in the chat like before. Okay, nice order. So there can be options. So if you want to give two answers, then it's fine. There are two options, two correct options for the question. So maybe you can try doing that. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. So yes, these two options are correct. So NumPy can't have elements of different types. So NumPy is only applicable for this. But Python list can have this as well as this. So that is the difference. Most of you got it right. So good going. Now, what is the output of this code? So I'll wait till 4:10, and then we can discuss the answer. Is the answer for the previous question clear to everybody? If you don't understand it, you can always write in the chat or speak up. But yeah. Okay, so maybe I'll explain what the dimensions of media and social would be. So a range will create an array of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this would be 1, 2, 3, 8. This is media and this is social. Now we are reshaping media 2, 2, 2, 3. This means that the innermost list will have two elements. That is 1, 2, and the size of one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is the outer ring. Okay, this will have two elements. There is a comma between them, okay? Uh, so this 3 is for 1 at index 0, index 1, index 2. Then this is for two elements inside it, these two elements, index 0, index 1, index 0, index 1, index 0, index 1. This 2 is for these two elements. That is how media is created. Then social will have two elements and within, within 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So this is how media and social will look. Then this will be the multiplication of these arrays. This I think you can do manually because it will be a very long process for me to explain how matrix multiplication works. I think everybody understands the matrix multiplication. If not, we can discuss it step by step in the next session, but I'm hoping that everybody knows matrix multiplication and can do that. This is the answer for the question. But yeah, so the point of this question was to understand how to write these arrays, how to represent them. Further, you can do the matrix multiplication or you can just use this code and this function and can get the answer for this matrix multiplication of these two matrices. Did everybody understand how what is the dimension of this? What does reshape do? Any doubts in this question? So next is a pandas question. We can briefly go through. Okay, so I'm hoping my screen is visible. So it is, as I said, it is used for data analysis and manipulation. It has its own inherent data structure that allows you to read it in a tabular data and you can play around with it. So the row you can make your own rows and then initialize the data frame with the rows that you have. You can have you can mention the column names using the attribute columns, and It will be printed like this. You can either write the rows yourself like this, or you can import CSV files and use the columns and rows which are already there, and then you can just play around with it. So this is explained in the tutorials where you read all the lines and load it in the what do you say, data frame. So using unique here will make this particular column, say country and religion, to be the primary key of the database. You can see the type of every column here using this function. Okay. There are a lot of functions that you can use. Different attributes are there. I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm just looking for maybe something interesting that I can. So Pandas already has some plotting functions, but it is not a lot. So Matplotlib is the go-to for plotting any information that you have, but still Pandas has the basic ones. So if you've done databases in your bachelor's, you'll know that there are a lot of database functions like group by and join, basically functions to play around with tables. So not just databases. You have with databases you have SQL commands to do these operations. So similarly, you can do these operations using Pandas library also. So as you see, you can group by. There is a function for group by, and I think there was a function for concatenation, join also. So to concatenate, you can do that on axis 0. So if you see this example, started this example. So we have 3 data frames. We have 2 data frames, data frame 1, data frame 2. This is the first table, this is the second data frame, and we want to concatenate 1 and 2. And if we just use the concatenate function like this, it will be concatenated in a vertical fashion. If you by default it is axis 1, so the vertical concatenation is called axis 1, and if you want it on the axis 0, on the horizontal way, then you can mention the same here, and it will be concatenated this is the vertical stack. So because A and B don't have a value when these are concatenated horizontally, hence they will have not applicable for A and B, and in case of C and D they don't have a value, Hence, it will be not applicable in case of CND. Mm, okay. So you have join operation as well. This all should be covered in databases, but if you have any, and it in the tutorial as well. So you can, if you have any doubts regarding any function, you can just change the values in this notebook and run it. You can just see the difference between the functions that you're running, and you'll understand what that particular function does and how it works. There's one too many, one to one, many too many. These are all functions that are discussed in databases in general. We have SQL functions for it. This is the data frames version of it, the pandas version of it. Inner join, outer join, all of this is discussed in the tutorial. You can run it on your own as well. If you have any doubts in one particular function, we can always discuss it. I'm not going to go through all of it. Any doubts in any of this? If somebody has gone through it and has a doubt in any particular function, we can discuss it right now. Okay, if not, we'll just go back to. I don't know if I have questions for it. Yeah. Okay, so it's 24. You can take your time, maybe till 26 or 27, and tell me what the answer for this question would be. Oh, this is a NumPy question, not a Pandas question. My bad, but now that we've discussed NumPy, we can answer this. Yeah. See what is written first here. Then it's first security and then privacy. So Shane, you are right. And then matplotlib. So I don't have practice questions for pandas or matplotlib. I can still. Okay. Matplotlib, as I said, is for visualization. It is a simple library for creating visualization. It can handle NumPy objects. Whenever you have array or something, you can just convert the array to NumPy and then play around with it. Play around with Matplotlib. Represent it using colorful graphs, colorful lines. So you have an x-axis, you have a y-axis. You just plot both of them. simple graph. You can have a bar plot. You can change the color of your bars. You can have a horizontal bar using bar H. You can use scatter plots rather than lines. And there's an option for histogram. You can you can plot like wave, sine wave, cos wave, sine function, cos function. So this was discussed in NumPy. So if you follow the tutorial, it's just 100 values between 0 and 10. Random values will be loaded into X, and X is given to the function sine, and it is then plotted. One is sine, one is cos. I think you would know which one is what. Not just sine, we have for tan, we have for you can change the range of the x-axis using this function, the y limit. You can also label the line plots that you're having with the attribute label. You can have different types of lines as well. This is basically one unit of your line, and yeah, you can mention that in your while you are plotting the function. This was a basic introduction to Matplotlib. If you want to use it further in data analytics, you can visit the Matplotlib's official documentation, and it is pretty thorough, so it would be easy to follow. And that's it. That is what I have for now. If you have any questions, we can discuss them. Any doubts in this week's material or last week's material, you can ask. No doubts for everybody. Would you prefer, ma'am, please explain the line space once again. Okay. 1 second, let me share my screen. Yeah. Yeah, can you see the screen? So this is the example where line space came in. So in the range of 0 to 150, 20 values will be taken into the array. These can be any random values, but the range should be between 0 to 150. So that is what line space does. And it's basically what you're doing is taking these 20 values into an array, and we'll plot these values in the line, in the function that we are using. So say we had a normal straight line, and these were the things that we were plotting, 20 values. Is that clear, Karthik? Does that answer your question? So line space is generally used to get a set of values between one range, between two set numbers. Okay. Any other doubts? Nothing from my side other than this. If you have doubts, you can wait. But you can leave. Do you want to discuss anything else regarding the course? You can. Do you prefer this pattern of the live session where I just discuss the whole lectures again, or maybe the important points of this lecture and discuss a few questions, or would you just have a session where you ask me questions and I just answer your questions? What would you prefer? Okay, sure. Okay. If you prefer me going through the lectures again, I would really like for you guys to go through the lectures beforehand so that we have better questions in the live session. So if you do that, if you go through the assignments and before the live session, we can have better discussions. Yeah. If you don't have any doubts, you can leave. Thank you for attending the lecture. It's not a lecture, but yeah, thank you for attending the session. And please drop any doubts that you have in the chat or in the discussion forum. We'll be more than happy to help you guys. If you guys don't have any doubts, you can leave. That's all from my side for today. You're welcome to stay and discuss if you have anything to discuss. Thank you for attending.